Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to the Rapatopoulos Show. If you visited my channel before, you may know that this is first and foremost an Assassin's Creed gameplay channel, where I post all my best choreographed parkour and stealth clips from all Assassin's Creed games. You may also know that I like to occasionally switch things up and ramble on for way too long about something, and this is one of those occasions. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to break one of my personal rules for this video. I promised you guys I would never take anything too seriously, but I think I need to be reflective and introspective on this one in order to get my point across. From time to time, I'll get a comment on one of my videos asking, do you play anything besides Assassin's Creed? Or someone will say something about how the franchise is dead, wondering why myself and some of my colleagues can't seem to move on from these games. While I've always known the answer to these questions, they're just way too long-winded for me to quickly type out in a reply. So I'm here today to answer why this franchise means enough to me to dedicate so much of my time creating content centered around it, and explain from my own personal experience why Assassin's Creed. I hope you don't mind me going back to the very beginning to hit you with a little bit of story time, because I feel like it's necessary in order to fully articulate my feelings. You know, sometimes in life I experience this strange phenomenon where I look at something like an album cover or a movie I've never seen, and before I even really know what it is, I can feel that it will have a significant impact on my life. There's something that speaks to me in that moment that tells me this is important. And that's what happened to me way back in 2007 when I first learned of the existence of the very first Assassin's Creed game. I was just a young boy at the tender age of 13, and one day I was hanging out at my friend Ben's house, and Ben had an older brother who was probably about 20 at the time, and this guy was always up to date on the newest gaming news, so he asked us if we knew of this new game coming out called Assassin's Creed. We didn't know anything because we were 13. So he pulled out his laptop and showed us the first gameplay that had ever been revealed for AC1, and there was one aspect of it that really caught my attention. I remember thinking, wow, it's so cool to see that he can just climb up the side of that building. And that's when I heard them say something that changed everything for me. Just listen to this.
Le parkour or free running, basically you can go anywhere. So any architectural detail like you're seeing right now is interactive.
Any architectural detail is interactive. It wasn't that he could climb that building. Altair could climb any building, and my 13-year-old 2007 brain could not believe this piece of information. At the time, this was something that I couldn't have even imagined was possible. In my world made of Mario Kart Double Dash and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, I was just blown away at the idea that every ledge, every window and post being an interactive object, every rooftop being explorable. The potential for exploration and freedom was super exciting to me. This was my first impression of Assassin's Creed. While the stealth, combat, historical setting, and cutting-edge graphics were all very cool to me, they were not the features that left the biggest impact on me. I didn't know very much about this game, but I knew one thing for sure. Assassin's Creed is about parkour, and from that moment on, I couldn't get it out of my head. I knew I had to have this game when it came out, but there were three big obstacles. First, I didn't have a current-gen console. I was still rocking my PS2 back in those days, so I didn't have the hardware required to even play the game. Second, like I said, I was just a little baby at 13, so I didn't have a job or any money to acquire the console or the game. And third, my parents weren't super strict, but they certainly wouldn't let me buy an M-rated game where you run around slashing dudes' throats with a knife. So it seemed like the odds were super stacked against me, and I didn't even know how to go about solving these problems, so I did my best to just kind of forget about Assassin's Creed and thought maybe one day when I'm older and richer I could play it. Fast forward a bit, it was either late 2007 or early 2008 when I was hanging out with my own brother, who was much older than me, at his house. And his girlfriend and I went to go pick up some food, and in the car she told me my brother was being annoying because he just got this new game and he wouldn't stop playing it. I asked her what the game was, and she told me it was none other than Assassin's Creed or something. And needless to say, I was thrilled to hear this, which I'm sure was very unamusing to her because now she not only had to deal with her boyfriend obsessing over the game, but she also had some annoying 13-year-old who was going to be geeked out about it as well. I probably damn near kicked the door down when we got back to his house, yelling, "Dude, you have Assassin's Creed?" My brother confirmed that he did in fact have the game, and I was like, well, what the hell are we doing? Fire it up. He was a bit reluctant, probably in fear of being yelled at by our mom for corrupting her sweet boy, but he turned on the Xbox and loaded up the game anyway. And he only let me play for a few minutes, but I remember exactly where I took my first steps. So this is the place, right here, near this big staircase I remember specifically. And then over here there's this kind of staircase ramp kind of zone over here. This is it. This is where I was at. I don't remember what the gameplay looked like. I imagine it was pretty bad. But yeah, this is the area. And it's kind of weird revisiting it because like I remember so vividly all of this. And also check out the lamp physics here. Isn't that nice? And that was it. Maybe 5 minutes of playtime, not even enough to get a grasp on how the parkour actually works. I wouldn't play AC1 again until years later. I went home to try to forget about it again. You know what's funny? I actually live just down the street from my brother's old house. And you know how like old ladies in movies sometimes, and I guess real life, will like go knock on someone's door and be like, I used to live in this house when I was just a girl in 1929 or whatever. I should go over there and be like, this is the house where I first played Assassin's Creed. And I'll just bring my old Xbox and TV and just start setting up in their living room. Alright, let's fast forward some more. 2009. A couple years go by and your boy's growing up. I worked on a raspberry picker during the summer when I was 14, and I earned enough money to buy an Xbox 360 my brother and I found on Craigslist, and it even came with a few games. My brother confiscated Grand Theft Auto 4 though because, again, moms are scary. I must have mostly forgotten about Assassin's Creed because I remember playing all the other games that came out during this golden era. Halo 3 and Call of Duty were big when I was at my friends' houses, since my mom was still a bit squeamish about letting me play the gruesome stuff. Guitar Hero was king at my house, and I must have played thousands of hours of Guitar Hero during this time period. But during the summer of that year, a game announcement would remind me of something that slept in the back of my mind for the past 2 years. In June of 2009, Ubisoft announced Assassin's Creed 2 and dropped a cinematic trailer that brought back all those feelings that I had before. But this time I knew that I would have the game. I would be able to get it because I had the proper console to run the game. I had a little bit of money from my terrible summer job. The only obstacle left was convincing my mom that it wasn't going to make me evil, which shouldn't be too hard, right? Because like I'm 15 now, I can handle it. I remember being like, but mom, it's totally historically accurate. It's basically school. There definitely won't be any flying popes shooting lasers out of a magic staff in the game. That's for sure. I don't remember getting an answer right away, but she must have told me no because I did not get AC2 at launch. Instead, a couple weeks after, she came downstairs into my bedroom and was like, okay, where is it? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, give me the game. And I said, but mom, what could you possibly be talking about? And she showed me an Xbox 360 game case, and it was, in fact, Assassin's Creed 2. I guess she had bought it for me as a Christmas present, and she opened the case to reveal that there was no disc inside. And to this day, I do not know what happened to that disc. I can only assume one of my idiot friends must have somehow found the game in my parents' room and taken the disc. I tried to assure her that I wasn't stupid enough to do something like that, and I even showed her my Xbox achievements to prove to her that the game had not been played on my Xbox. But to this day, I think she still thinks I took the game. So, Mom, if for some reason you're watching this video, I did not take the game, I promise you. So another obstacle presented itself, but like I said, I had a little bit of money now, and since obviously my mother was okay with me playing this very educational and historically accurate game, I hitched a ride to the nearest GameStop and made my brother go inside and buy the game for me after being turned down by the GameStop employee for being too young, which is incredibly embarrassing. According to this Xbox achievement, my personal Assassin's Creed journey officially began on December 11th, 2009. This is the day that my high expectations were met and my obsessive curiosity was finally quenched. This game was like nothing I had ever played. The music, the atmosphere, the graphics were so cutting edge it blew my mind. The assassinations, combat animations, map design, outfits, everything was perfect. And the parkour, it was everything that I imagined it would be. My first impression of Assassin's Creed from back in 2007 was correct. Assassin's Creed is about parkour. It's the defining factor that sets this game above all other games for me. But after diving deep into everything AC2 has to offer, I realized it's a lot more than just parkour. It goes deeper than that. Assassin's Creed is about style. The ability to express yourself through movement, gracefully moving around your environment, and killing a group of guards with style. And Assassin's Creed is about freedom. The freedom to go where you want and explore every nook and cranny of an open world city, not just horizontally, but vertically too. The freedom to approach a stealth situation in any way you see fit. All three of these things work very closely together to bring us the classic Assassin's Creed experience. And as a 15-year-old in 2009 on Christmas break from school, sitting in his basement, texting his friends on his Motorola Razr, this gameplay was the coolest thing I could possibly imagine. As I continued to grow up and become a real person, each year was marked by a new Assassin's Creed game, and I bought each and every single one of them at launch. And I have trophies and achievement receipts to prove it. And for a long time, each game offered a contribution to that magical formula. Brotherhood gave us one larger map to explore and assassin recruits to make us feel even more badass. Revelations gave us the hook blade and ziplining to increase parkour possibilities and all-around speed. AC3, for better or for worse, gave us a cleaner-looking system while still keeping the spirit of the game intact. Black Flag took exploration to the seas and improved on AC3's city design. Unity pushed the boundaries farther than any of its predecessors by giving us a parkour system I don't think anyone was expecting. Things started to slip with Syndicate. The parkour really started to slip, but it was manageable, and to me, London was an impressive enough city to somewhat excuse the parkour downgrade. We don't really reach any true offenders of the magical formula until we reach Assassin's Creed Origins. Okay, now hear me out, because I can already see comments from diehard Origins fans coming from my neck. I like Origins, I like Bayek, I think Egypt is super cool, and overall, Origins is a good game. However, it is a game that more or less spits on my little holy trinity of Assassin's Creed wonder. The parkour takes a major hit in this game. High and low profile is removed, back and side ejects are a shell of their former selves, and jump distance is reduced and replaced with this heaviness that is just not Assassin's Creed to me. Not only did the mechanics and freeing feeling of parkour take a hit, but the map design, while beautiful, was not optimized for satisfying or creative movement at all. So for the first time since Assassin's Creed 1, 10 years after the birth of the franchise, Assassin's Creed was just not about parkour. And again, I want to make it clear that I do think Origins is a very good game, it just wasn't my Assassin's Creed. And this trend would continue for the next two entries, Odyssey and Valhalla, my interest in the series dwindling with each release. And when Assassin's Creed Mirage was announced in 2022, I was cautiously optimistic about some of the things I was hearing about the game. A return to roots, urban setting, stealth and parkour focused game with a shorter, streamlined story. This was exactly what I wanted. This sounded like my Assassin's Creed. So after 6 years of growing more and more distant from the franchise that I'd loved so much for so many years, just the idea of Ubisoft returning to that magic formula was super exciting to me. I returned to the Ezio trilogy where that magic started for me and re-explored my favorite cities for the first time as an adult. The parkour of those games is just so responsive and accurate, and it's aged so well. It was beautiful spending time in Venice, Florence, Rome, and Constantinople again. About a year later, the first gameplay was released for Mirage, and many people were quick to claim that their speculation about Mirage's parkour was true. This was nothing new, just the RPG system with a new coat of paint, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't a bit disappointed as well. It didn't look amazing, but I could see that the city was well designed even from that short clip, and I was determined to make the most out of Mirage once it released. It was around this time that I started to see an explosion of old-school Assassin's Creed parkour videos on YouTube, most of them with some sort of backhanded title like AC Mirage parkour could never be this good or something of that nature. I had never really watched any technical parkour videos before or seen much of anything from the Assassin's Creed YouTube community, but after watching a couple of those videos, YouTube kept recommending them to me, so I kept watching them. Somewhere along the line, I was like, hold on, I can do this. Some of these videos aren't even all that great, I can play like this. And to a certain degree, I was right. I loaded up AC2, mapped out a nice little route for myself, and recorded it the best I could. And it was fine, nothing spectacular, but it was a necessary first step. Since then, I've continued to upload and continued to increase my skill at not only the Ezio games, but all Assassin's Creed games, falling in love all over again with these old titles more and more with each video, rediscovering that sense of freedom and the ability to express myself through style while gracefully scaling the city walls and imposing sweet death on a group of unsuspecting guards. You probably won't be surprised by this after how many times I've mentioned it in this video, but the magic formula is the answer to the question. Why Assassin's Creed? Because no other game I've ever played gives me the same satisfaction that Assassin's Creed can with its freedom to explore urban environments horizontally and vertically in a somewhat realistic way. Using whatever style or path you choose, it allows for each player to offer something unique and makes replayability infinite. There are endless options for parkour routes with a dozen choices and direction to make at any moment. I know when I load up one of these games to make a video that I can do something that no one has ever done or maybe even thought of before. Assassin's Creed allows a level of creative freedom that no other game I've played can offer. When Mirage finally came out, I was pretty satisfied with how it turned out. It's held back some by being forced to reuse the same parkour system I complained about in Origins, but this time around they improved on all the complaints I had, even if a major one was post-launch. Mechanics, character ability, and map design were all significantly improved, returning Assassin's Creed's magic formula to the series in a way we haven't seen in a very long time. Mirage is not a perfect game, there's still a lot of room for improvement, but Ubisoft's acknowledgement of the importance of parkour with Mirage makes me very optimistic about the future. As someone who prefers the smaller scale entries in the series, I would have no problem with them continuing in the RPG direction so long as they keep parkour as one of the pillars of gameplay and not just a side feature or afterthought. Well, I think that's about all I have to say on this matter. I hope this wasn't too much of a bore to watch, and I was able to adequately explain why these games mean so much to me and why I continue to play them the way that I do to this day. I probably wouldn't be making Assassin's Creed content if I didn't have this like deep-rooted nostalgic love for the series from back when I was a teenager. So I'm sure that plays into it a lot, but from a non-emotional standpoint, it really boils down to the parkour and that magic formula that I won't shut up about. That's really what it is for me. That's what keeps me coming back. That's what's captivated me for so long. And that's what it is. It's parkour. It's parkour, baby. It's parkour. It's always parkour. That was the answer all along. I made you watch a 20-minute video to tell you that the answer is parkour. Why Assassin's Creed? Parkour, baby. I gotta go. See you later. I love you.